Well, we've got sunshine and blue skies for Leeds' return to Headingley, and what a warm welcome they're getting from this crowd here this afternoon. It's hardly surprising, because last week, of course, they turned on a real power-packed performance to demolish Barrow by 90 points to 0. And whilst that was happening, this afternoon's visitors, the Sheffield Eagles, were going down and out of the Challenge Cup by losing heavily at Wakefield Trinity.
And it's the Eagles taking the game to Wakefield in these opening stages. Leota. The ball turned back inside for Darryl Powell. Sells a huge dummy, and Powell's going to make it to the line. And Darryl Powell's in for the first try of the match, just as he was last week. And once again, the Indian sign that the Sheffield Eagles seem to have on Wakefield Trinity is working in their favour. Andy Kelly now takes the ball on, and right up to the heart there of that Sheffield defence. Billy Conway to Lazenby. Lazenby has seen the gap, and Lazenby streaking through. And Tracy Lazenby scores Wakefield Trinity's first try. And that's more like it from Wakefield. That was a crisp handling move. And Luluai was only half held. And I think if Leota hadn't moved in quickly, Luluai would have carried on with his run. Keith Rain reaching for Conway's pass and making a good job of holding on to that one, and gets it away in the tackle to Billy Conway. To Mark Conway. There's something on again for Trinity here. Mark Conway running and scything his way across the defence. And Andy Wilson has the formality of touching that ball down in the corner. What a good Wakefield Trinity try that was. Trinity still piling on the pressure. They'll be looking for more points. Phil Eden with the kick through, and that's a good kick from Eden. If he collects, he'll score, and he does. That's great work from Phil Eden. That's Trinity's third try of the half, and it came really from nothing. This is a very good sustained spell of pressure from Wakefield. Billy Conway trying from acting half-back. John Thompson will score. Thompson in off the short pass. Good support play from Johnny Thompson. Probing, trying to find the gap. John Thompson to Brian Jackson, and Jackson slips the ball away to Andy Mason. Now this will be a try. 3 minutes to go, and Andy Mason has certainly sealed this second round tie for Wakefield Trinity with his 13th try of the season. And that was excellent work by Wakefield.
The Sheffield Eagles taking to the field for only the second time in their history here at Headingley. They came here 6 years ago in a John Player Special Trophy, and on that occasion were heavily beaten. Today they start the game fourth bottom of the league, playing against Leeds, who are of course second from the top. And let's start by taking a look at the Leeds lineup this afternoon. At fullback it's Warren Wilson. The three quarters, John Bentley, David Creaser, Rob Ackerman and Carl Gibson. The half-backs, Gary Schofield, who leads the side, and the Australian David Cruikshank. The front three, Hugh Waddell, Colin Maskill and Paul Dixon. Mike Kuwaiti, Cavill Hugh, and Gary Devorty is the last man down. Gary Lord and Roy Powell are the men on the bench. The Eagles line up with David Myko at fullback, David Nelson, Sean Willey, Darryl Powell and Mark Gamson, the three quarters. The free-scoring Mark Aston partners David Close at half-back. They've got Paul Broadbent, Anthony Farrell and Francis Leota are the front three, and Sonny Nicol, Nick Grimoldby and Tawara Nikau the back three. Andy Young and Neil Kellett are the two substitutes. This afternoon's referee travelled across from Humberside, Mr. Steve Cross, who are with me in the commentary position to summarise events as they happen this afternoon. Here's Stuart Duffy. Stuart, this certainly looks on paper at least like a clear-cut Leeds victory.
Well, it does after last week's performance against Barrow, where Leeds scored 90 points, which incidentally is a record First Division point scoring record. Sheffield really need to win this one. They've been hampered by playing all the matches away from Owlerton this season. They've lost 7 league matches on the trot before they managed to beat Wakefield a fortnight ago. And of course, as you said, they went out of the cup last week. And Leeds seemingly have all the aces for this afternoon.
Just as we come up to kick-off time, a quick word about Mark Aston. He really is an outstanding player for them.
Yes, he's scored in something like 66 consecutive matches now for the Sheffield Eagles. Castleford product, of course, played for Redhill and has been outstanding for them throughout the history of the club.
Well, it remains to be seen what miracles, if any, he can work this afternoon for the Sheffield Eagles, and on paper at least they're certainly up against it here against Leeds at Headingley. And a first touch there for David Creaser. Leeds looking to make progress out of their own 25. Australian Cavill Hugh held. Hugh Waddell. Leeds full of running, full of points, full of tries, and they'll be very anxious indeed to put it all together once again this afternoon. Colin Maskill at acting half-back, the kick from Schofield. It's deep and it's cross-field, but it won't find touch on that far side. Instead, it's the former Leeds Colt Mark Gamson who goes across to collect. The Eagles playing in their familiar strip. Red jerseys with the white chevron on the white shorts and the red socks. Big lad, Paul Broadbent, brought down 10 yards short of the halfway line. Well, perhaps a sign of nerves there from Mark Aston. He put that pass down, he dropped away Stewart, he'd peeled off for the tactical kick and then put the pass down.
Yes, that's a bad header. That's given Leeds a head and ball just outside the 25. It's just the sort of chance that Leeds are gobbling up with Gary Schofield spraying out the passes from standoff.
So first opportunity for Leeds, the first heel, Schofield, bringing David Creaser into the play. Old school pals these, going back an awful long way. And nice to see them operating together in the Leeds first team. Warren Wilson joins the attack. The fullback pushing up already, even though the game barely 2 minutes old. Schofield from acting halfback, Maskill, Paul Dixon. Dixon must be a candidate for the summer tour to New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. Gary Devorty, who's probably another candidate too. Slipped a little bit out of the Great Britain picture recently, Devorty, but a very talented footballer. Waddell, the last tackle. Let's see what tactics Leeds have tucked up the sleeves. Cruikshank, the kick through. Only as far as Nelson. Nelson running crossfield. And an immediate physical confrontation between him and Waddell. And you might have expected Waddell to come off better of that. I'm not certain that he did. Ball spilled loose. Cruikshank. A running chance for the scrum half. Up towards the 25. Maskill turns the ball back inside to Cavalcue. The crowd already getting behind Leeds. Kuwaiti inside the 25, gets the ball away. Cruikshank, Devorty, Leeds are going across the line, and that's very well picked up. That was a difficult ball to take, and Leeds putting all the early pressure on. Devorty running from acting halfback. Waddell inside the 25, tries to get the pass away, and Maskill does well to take it and feed it on to Kuwaiti. And the ball goes to ground. Rob Ackerman putting the pass down, and a sign of a few early nerves there from Leeds.
Yes, both sides dropping the ball quite regularly. The conditions are quite good underfoot and there's a drying wind, so the ball shouldn't be too wet.
The pitch, incidentally, was used briefly before this encounter. You'll see one or two marks of a ladies' match that was played earlier. Good run from Sean Willey, takes him across the 25. Willey moving from full-back, where he's played for the last few games for Sheffield Eagles, and moving into the centre today. Close, slips the ball to Broadbent. The Leeds tackling is good. Aston this time holds the pass and boots the ball clear, long and high and deep. Wilson judges it nicely, takes it on the first bounce. Not much chance to get into a running pattern there for Wilson. The Sheffield Eagles were up on him very quickly indeed. The Leeds players still streaming back. There's probably one occasion where they wouldn't have minded if their man was being held down in the tackle, which of course he wasn't. A little bit of a hush descended over the crowd in these early stages. I think perhaps after last week's 90-point spree, they may be expecting something to happen very quickly, Stuart.
It's the typical of the crowd here at Headingley, John. They're always expecting Leeds to turn on the style and play the open football. But of course they can't do that every week in and week out. They have to make the game safe in the forwards before they start spraying the ball about.
The crowd, of course, the lifeblood of the club. And some would say, quite rightly, they expect the team to play well every time they turn out. A mistake there from Gary Schofield, putting the ball out on the full. So the first scrum of the match, and the ball out on the Sheffield side. Nice little 1-2, and the ball ending up back with Mark Aston. One wonders if he'd been better feeding the pass out. He certainly thought about it. Close and Aston this time. Powell, and that's a nice ball from Powell to Sonny Nicol, and Sonny Nicol has broken the first tackle, and Nichol's in full flow, and Close if he can get the pass in, and he can't, and Gary Devorty coming back. But the referee coming back on the Leeds side, which indicates the Eagles have retained possession. That was a great break from Sonny Nicol, and they're still in full cry. The ball across the line to Nelson. There's something on here, and Nick Howe, he's held up just a yard short of the line, and Leeds really being stretched at the back in these early stages. Broadbent trying to force his way over. And has he made it? No, he hasn't. He's gone over on his back, and Leeds surprisingly broken by that run from Sonny Nicol, Stuart.
Yes, that was a tremendous run from Sonny Nicol. Good passing along the line. Daryl Powell brought him on beautifully there. And if the final pass had gone to hand, I think that would have been a try into the post for Sheffield.
Indeed, it was only the smothering of the pass, which Close was trying to get in, that saved Leeds there. However, they've got the ball out the scrum. And chance for them to make some progress, except they've now put the ball down. And let's see where Steve Cross goes. He comes out on the Leeds side again, which means, of course, the Eagles have possession. They're playing some good stuff, and once again the ball put down. This time it's by David Maiko, and Leeds are back in possession. Perhaps a few cold fingertips out there today. It's not the warmest afternoon we've had so far. Carl Gibson. And Gibson immediately grabbed by Nelson on the 25. Leeds needing to settle. Waddell. Colin Maskill moving to acting halfback. World record fee for a hooker paid for Colin Maskill, and he's really started to come into his own under the guidance of David Ward. Ward, of course, one of the best hookers in the game. Devorty out to Kuwaiti, out to Ackerman. Ackerman stepping inside the first challenge and looked to take an elbow from Broadbent, but the referee saw nothing amiss. Schofield with the kick. That's a better kick from Schofield. And it sends David Maiko across to cover. Maiko taking no chances, putting a foot on the ball first. And Leeds supporting well. Devorty first man up. Farrell the hooker. Across the line to Nelson. Nelson held as he just comes over the 25. The Eagles got problems with the hooking role, of course. Warren Smiles, the Australian, out with a broken leg. And Mick Cook tore a calf muscle a couple of weeks ago. And this is Leota on the break. Does well, too, to get that ball away. Daryl Powell, the running chance, but grabbed right round the ankles. And once again, it's the old Parkside School combination. Creaser and Schofield stopping the run. It's a good kick from Mark Aston. Sends Warren Wilson racing across to his right, and the bounce favours the full-back. This time he has a chance to get into his stride, Wilson, running across the field. Running straight into tackles. Ackerman was lying just a little bit flat to Wilson's run. And Wilson never really getting near enough. Kuwaiti does well to get that ball away. Gary Devorty now taking that pass, and Leeds have got something on here. Devorty, plenty of pace for a loose forward into Kuwaiti. Kuwaiti, can he get the pass away? It's loose, and Leeds have scored a try. And who else but the master poacher himself, Gary Schofield. Stuart, there was always something on when that initial break was made by Cavalier.
Yes, that was a good move by Cavalier. He split the defence wide open, and Gary Devorty did the right thing when he got the pass. You could see that the man was marking Kuwaiti on his right-hand side, so he kept going towards the left. Finally turned inside the full-back, who knocked the pass behind the line, and Gary Schofield, as always, following up, scored the simplest of tries.
I'm sure that Sheffield Eagles would point they were a little unfortunate not to be able to knock that pass down, but nevertheless, when the ball went to ground, Schofield was there, sniffing as usual, and in for a try. And that's brought the crowd to life. They certainly feel happy now, Stuart.
Yes, that's what the Leeds like to see. Nothing better at Headingley than a Gary Schofield try. And the one last week against Barrow was an 85-yard stunning effort where he beat everybody on the field.
So Colin Maskill, who's rapidly developing into one of the game's leading goal kickers. And that can't be bad for his all-round game, Maskill. He too must be a candidate for the summer tour. And he adds the goal points there without too much difficulty. 6 points to 0 to Leeds, and we're looking at something like 10 minutes gone on the clock. Already they're singing on the South Terrace, in the South Stand. And the last time the Eagles came here was in 1984, and they were beaten out of sight, 50 points to 4 in the first round of the John Player Special Trophy. This, their first ever league visit to Headingley. Well, difficult one for Devorty to take. Not only was there a lot of pace on that ball, Stuart, of course he's got the sun in his eyes as well.
That's right, I was stood down on the touchline about to do the preview before, and the sun was blinding from low down. It's all right up in the top here, but down there it was really in your eyes.
So the Eagles will have the head on the ball. It comes out, and Cruikshank very sharply there dispossesses Close. Good work by Cruikshank. The Australian was on that ball very, very quickly indeed. Waddell taking it up for Leeds. They've settled to their work very quickly, Leeds. Paul Dixon not looking as if he was going to relish that challenge coming in there from two of the three Kiwis playing for the Sheffield Eagles. Cavalhue battling his way, route one up the middle. Gary Schofield with the kick. David Maiko across, and again Maiko not wishing to risk the chance of knocking on, puts a foot on the ball before he collects it. Just allows Leeds that vital extra yard to tighten up on him, and he's held 10 yards outside his own 25. David Nelson infield looking for work, and he finds it. Been well among the tries this season, Nelson. This time Sonny Nicol finding the tackling not so easy to break. Again the ball going loose, play on, says the referee, it didn't go forward. It's a difficult one for John Bentley, but he does well, goes back and collects that ball. Bentley got a chance now, but held up in the first tackle. Warren Wilson supporting the attack. He loves to join the attack, Stuart.
He does. He's a fullback who likes to join the line and does so at every opportunity. He's done well since he came here from Hunslet. It was signed, of course, at David Ward's recommendation when he was the assistant coach here at Headingley.
Rob Ackerman. Not much chance for him to work there, but he eluded the attempt of Sean Willey to put a tackle on him. Big lad Ackerman, former British Lion. I think he surprised a few people when he decided to turn professional with Whitehaven.
Yes, he did. Not the most of glamour clubs. And he was telling me the other week when I was speaking to him that he didn't really have a good time up there. He wasn't given any assistance in the transition from rugby union to rugby league, and he hopes that he'll get some more support here at a better club.
Well, I'm certain that he will, but the ball's put down there and Broadbent running away with it. And Schofield doing well to get back and redress the error there. The crowd totally unhappy about the decision that the ball was knocked on. And in fact, I suspect he's given offside, Stuart.
He has, and it's a perfectly correct decision. Gary Schofield knocked that pass down and Warren Wilson came back from an offside position and picked the ball up.
So the Eagles, a chance to put some points on the board. That was another dangerous break, really, from a nothing situation, wasn't it?
From a nothing situation, a big forward rampaging down the middle. This is the type of situation that's caught Leeds cold at various times during this season. Notably, of course, against Bradford Northern in the various matches that they've played against them in cup competitions.
So Mark Aston with the chance. He doesn't miss too many, Aston. And a chance to increase not only his points tally, but his consecutive matches that he's scored in. And he's kicked it 6 points to 2, the scoreline. And perhaps that'll be a little reminder to Leeds that although the Eagles are fourth from the bottom of the table, they've got plenty of life in them, Stuart.
Yes, they have. I was at the Chesterfield football stadium when Leeds played there early in the season, and Sheffield gave Leeds a very good game that day, although Leeds did run out winners. Sheffield looked a good side, and I was surprised that they went from sort of bad to worse on that day and didn't really win any of the next few games. They looked a good side.
I would hesitate to correct you. Can we really call Saltergate Stadium?
Not really, John. It was one of the worst places I've been.
It's grim up north. So the Eagles back in possession. Mark Gamson tries a run there, former Leeds Colt, but held still inside his own 25. Tawara Nikau over the 25. Been in lively form lately, Nikau, as has Francis Leota, the number 10 forward for Sheffield today. Once again, it's Aston's kick that sends Leeds scurrying back. Warren Wilson collects. Not much chance of any support for him. John Bentley had moved across. And certainly no support outside. John Bentley, who did well to take that one. Sonny Nicol was up on him very, very quickly. And Bentley still going. This is a good run from the winger. Perhaps getting a little bit of extra attention there from the Sheffield tacklers. That's what the crowd thought in the north stand. Sheffield started this game looking very, very keen indeed. The tackling's being razor sharp, as Paul Dixon felt then. Woodell up to the halfway line. Good, powerful number 8 forward here, Woodell. Cruikshank cuts out Devotee, and eventually Kuwaiti's pass cuts out everybody. The rhythm not quite there at the moment, Stuart, but it's coming.
That's coming from Leeds. Paul Dixon took a knock early on. The physio was onto him, and he's not running with the commitment that he did in the first 5 minutes. I think he's still struggling a bit with the knock that he took.
Referee Steve Cross awarding Leeds the penalty, suggesting by his signal that the ball was heeled out of the scrum, not in the traditional fashion, but with a loose hand from one of the Sheffield players. So Leeds will have the differential penalty right on the halfway line. And let's hope that knock that Paul Dixon took doesn't affect his mobility too much in the game. Good-sized crowd here at Headingley for what, with all due respect to Sheffield Eagles, is not necessarily the most attractive match of the season. There will be no doubt those who came last week who have encouraged a friend to come with them this week to see some points. Nice little set move there from Leeds, but came really to naught as Paul Dixon couldn't escape the challenge, plays the ball to himself and goes on. And Leeds up to within 12 yards of the line. Kuiti slips the ball back inside. That's a good ball from Kuiti to Cavalier. And Leeds making progress in stages at the moment. The whole team fanned out on the open side. Cruikshank, Schofield, turning back inside. Cruikshank looking for the gap. And the last tackle coming up. Warren Wilson up in support. Gary Schofield, what will he do, Schofield? A little bit of magic, jinking this way and that. And he actually just dropped the ball, Schofield. He would have had to hand it over anyway. And Broadbent dropping on it for the Sheffield Eagles. Leota on the burst, and what a fine sight he is, Stuart.
Yes, that's a tremendous run from Leota there. I think Leota and Nikau and Kuiti did very well in the sort of the Wednesday team that played when the Kiwis toured over there, and caught the eye along with Dave Watson of a number of First Division clubs. And Sheffield were lucky to get the two Kiwis to replace the Australians that had to return.
Gary Hetherington, of course, one of the shrewdest judges when it comes to picking players. And the Eagles on the move again, this time with Tawara Nikau, and this time Nikau held by Carl Gibson just a yard inside the Leeds half. He made it into two by stepping forward after he'd been tackled, and that's a good kick from Mark Aston. The ball may well not favour Sheffield as it bounces, but it's dead in the in-goal area at the moment, and a few problems there for Leeds, because Mark Gamson was bearing down very quickly indeed on both Warren Wilson and John Bentley. And Warren Wilson it was who took the decision to boot that ball clear, so Leeds will have to drop out from under their own sticks. What wind there is, of course, is favouring the Eagles in this first half, Stuart.
Yes, it's quite blustery today, John, and as you say, the wind blowing up from left to right as we look at the game, and Eagles are hoping to put some points on. I'm sure they want to turn around in arrears and have to face what seems like getting up a stronger wind this afternoon.
Well, we're almost halfway through the first half. 6 points to 2 is the scoreline at the moment, and that's in favour of Leeds, and that's a good flat kick from Schofield. And Sonny Nicol, not able to collect it first time, had to wait for it to sit down, by which time, of course, Leeds have got some players up behind the ball. Farrell to close. Leota. Mustn't let Leota get into his stride. Anthony Farrell, the club's costliest ever signing. And failing to impress in a loose forward role. And really only filling in at the moment as a standby hooker. Gary Schofield. Couldn't break away there from Grimaldby. It was good work by the Kiwi. And here's another one. Kuiti. And that was a solid challenge. You could hear the thump as Aston and Kuiti collided, and Kuiti smiles. Gary Devorty had to turn back inside Devorty. Once again, Grimaldby was the man leading the tacklers. Waddell up to the halfway line, and I think that Aston was more concerned with stealing the ball there than making the tackle. And referee Steve Cross blowing very loudly on the whistle. A little fracas developing on the ground between two groups of players. Not what we want to see at any stage of the game, Stuart, but certainly not early on like this.
No, that's bad for rugby league. It's not the sort of thing that we want to see in this game, and it's creeping in sadly more often these days. Players seemingly intent on causing injury to other players in a one-to-one situation there. The ball's on the floor, and obviously a few fists were thrown. It's Mark Aston, a really skillful player again, who's injured, and this seems to be the thing every time. It's always the skillful players who are getting injured in these skirmishes.
And the referee having a very stiff word with Colin Maskill. In the meantime, Stuart, I've noticed, I don't know whether we've got it in picture too often or not, but David Cruikshank is performing a stretching exercise that suggests he may be having a problem with the hamstring.
Yes, I noticed that on the halfway line. When Leeds had a penalty earlier on, he was stretching there. It looks like he wasn't injured in the week. It must have occurred today.
Well, Mark Aston making the most of it, and the Sheffield Eagles have been awarded the penalty. He's got his gum shield back in now, so I don't suppose if in fact there was a loose hand thrown down there that it would have had the chance to spoil his good looks. And he gets straight back on his feet and pumps the penalty into touch. Anthony Farrell will take it. And Mark Aston straight back in the game. Leota on the burst. And he's lost the ball. The ball stolen by Paul Dixon. Good work by Dixon. Waddell from acting half-back. Up towards the halfway line. And that little incident there involving Maskill and Aston has brought a roar to the throats of the crowd. Kiyuti, good ball to Ackerman. Ackerman seemingly fighting off that challenge from Close. It looked as though Close was going above the shoulders with that one. Cruikshank through the gap. This is a good little break from Cruikshank. Slips it to Cavalier. Cavalier on the burst. And he's dropped the ball. And there's no real advantage there, so a knock-on will be awarded. It looks like Steve Cross could have his hands full controlling this one.
Yes, it seems to be blowing up a little bit. I thought then that Leeds angling at times not the best this afternoon. There seems to be too much dropping the ball, and that's causing these problems. Players diving in at one another's feet, and there's always the fists and the feet, the boots flying.
Well, the Eagles get the ball out of the scrum there, and it's hardly surprising. That was as good a case of feeding as I've seen for a long time from Close. So the Eagles back in possession, but still inside their own half of the field. Nick out, and that's a good tackle coming in from Ackerman. Now the Eagles moving the ball across the line, and this is good play. The Eagles through Darryl Powell, and Powell still going, and eventually stopped by Gary Devorty. I suspect the visitors will undoubtedly lift their game today, and I would expect them to be playing above their normal league form because they're playing here at Headingley. There's no question about that. They've had a little bit of success recently, although they went out of the Cup last week at Bellevue. The week before, of course, they put Wakefield Trinity to the sword at Barnsley's Oakwell Soccer Ground. And Warren Wilson there knocking on. No real pressure on Wilson. I think there'll be one or two cold fingertips out there this afternoon. It's certainly a cold breeze that's around. It's a crisp afternoon. But perhaps the best we can expect for mid-February. Six points to 2 the scoreline. No spree at the moment. Another loud blast on the whistle from the referee, and this time the differential penalty is awarded to the Sheffield Eagles. Stephen Cross, this afternoon's referee from Hessel. Many years ago refereed the game of association football before switching to rugby league. Sonny Nicol takes the short pass, and Nicol, who's already made one very significant break for the Eagles, held this time some 15 yards out. They certainly look full of life, Stuart. They
certainly do. They're attacking with much fire in the blood now, and again here we see this big number 10, Leota, charging him, but Paul Dixon is a specialist at stealing the ball. He does it on numerous occasions every game, and there again he's done it again and blighted another Sheffield attack, John.
Hugh Waddell this time taking the ball up for Leeds. Kiyuti, lovely little ball to Schofield, who manages to get away to Ackerman. Has he got room to work? He's away from the first man, but not from the second, who was Sean Willie. That's a good tackle by William. Good work too from Ackerman. Cruikshank. And Cruikshank certainly taken round the head. And referee will want a word there with Farrell. In fact, it's only a very brief word. And Leeds in the meantime are awarded the penalty. Colin Maskill, just a word with his colleagues before taking the kick. And that one heading dangerously near to me. Waddell on the burst. Off the right foot and over the halfway line. Plays the ball to himself, Waddell. Takes it up again. In the meantime, Grimoldby laid on the turf injured. Play goes on. Paul Dixon. Dixon looking to turn to unload that ball in the tackle, unable to do so. Leeds got support both ways now, depending on which way Maskill decides to go. He comes on the blind side. Cruikshank. Devorty. Devorty sees the gap and strides through it with the greatest of ease, Gary Devorty. To Kiyuti, and Kiyuti looking to unload and held just a yard short. This is lovely rugby from Leeds. This is what they like at Headingley. Super break from Gary Devorty. Cruikshank. Cruikshank looking for the break himself. Can't find it. Still going, Cruikshank. Still bobbing and weaving. Leeds now 3-4 yards short. They'd love to put some more points on the board here. The last tackle. Devorty. Leeds going to run this one across the line. Cavalier and couldn't quite get that ball away. And that was rather unfortunate, so we go to the handover. What a terrific break that was from Devotie, Stuart.
Yes, Gary Devotie has got all the class, all the skills. He reminds me very much of another underside product loose forward, Johnny Whiteley. Every time I see him carrying the ball, it reminds me of Johnny Whiteley.
Very shrewd signing for the Leeds club, Gary Devotie. It was just sad, of course, that there was some acrimony between Leeds and Hull over the signing. But then again, when a deal struck, you can't always please everybody, and Leeds certainly getting the better of the bargain. John Bentley, you saw him there shielding his eyes from the sun. Does well to take that ball, and what a super long pass from Bentley. Gives Warren Wilson a running chance. Wilson can't get past it. Oh, he does get past the first tackler. This is a great run from Wilson. He's into space, he's running back into the centre field area, and again a head tackle. And Steve Cross says nothing. Can't understand the reason for the referee letting that go if the referees are going to be consistent, because Broadbent certainly grabbed at the head. No question about that. Not surprising the physio's on. Gary Devotie throws a super dummy. Devotie breaks through and looked round desperately for support, and there was none. Maskill, lovely ball to Waddell. He'll score, and he does. That was a lovely time pass. The move coming again from a Devotie break. It was a shame there was no one up in support, but Leeds making the most of the situation, Stuart.
Yes, that's good play from Leeds again. Devotie setting the position up there, and when Waddell gets the ball, he doesn't score too many tries, and you just see him there waving to the crowd. He'll be delighted with that. I think that's probably his first try of the season.
And it's come just about on the half hour in this game to take Leeds into a 10-2 lead. And this is more than comfortable at the moment for them. They've had a couple of anxious moments early on, but the further this one goes, the more Leeds are taking command. Another super break from Devotie, and what a beautifully timed pass it was from Colin Maskill to set Waddell in. Maskill preparing to add the goal points, and the Sheffield Eagles gathered in their in-goal area, and no doubt they'll be having one or two words about their defensive work there, Stuart.
Yes, a couple of bad mistakes letting Gary Devotie run. First time he ran about 30 yards in there, he powered his way through again. It was just bad tackling in the middle of the field by the second row forwards.
So it's Colin Maskill. He's right on the 25. He's some 18 yards in from the touchline. And he's kicked it. We don't need to wait for the flags. That one was there all the way. He really is developing, Stuart, into one of the most reliable goal kickers in the game. And indeed, it takes you back to his days at Wakefield Trinity.
Yes, he was very much the goal kicker at Wakefield Trinity. When he came to Leeds, he was fourth or fifth choice behind Lee Crooks, David Creasy, John Bentley, and David Ward. A very much a believer in Colin Maskill. David Ward, of course, was the hooker here when Colin Maskill was signed, and when he came back as coach, he gave Maskill the reins to kick the goals and to be more of a playmaker. And I know that David Ward would really like to see Colin Maskill in the Great Britain side.
Well, that was a good piece of handling on the far side of the field by Cavalier. He did awfully well to retain possession of that ball. Again, as I say earlier, coming out of the sun and with the wind behind it. And the Eagles and Maskill breaking through. Determined play there from the hooker. And I can remember a time here at Headingley when they didn't favour him too much, the crowd. He went through a very difficult patch, particularly under the coaching of Peter Fox. But my word, how they love him now, and he's really stuck to his task, Maskill. And he's proving to be one of the game's most valuable players. Gets the penalty as well. Pops that into touch, some 5 yards inside the Sheffield half, or perhaps the angle deceived me, and the kick in fact will be taken on the halfway line. Maskill. The ball slipped to Waddell, and Waddell on the burst. Sheffield's tackling still fairly crisp in the midfield area, but it's been wanting on a couple of occasions when Leeds have put the pressure on near the line. Devotie, a lovely reverse ball back inside to Wilson, who does well to get it away to Cruikshank. Well, there was a suggestion of both an offside, a forward pass and a knock-on there, and referee Steve Cross, at the end of it all, decides that Leeds can retain possession. Waddell over the halfway line. Does well to get that ball away, not the best pass in the world, but Cruikshank makes something of it. Almost stepping out of the tackle, Cruikshank. Cavalier gone to acting half-back. Schofield, nice ball to Kuiti. Kuiti throws his would-be tackler off. And Mark Aston was looking to join back in there and perhaps give Kuiti a little bit of treatment. Words between the two. In the meantime, the game goes on, and Dixon putting his frame to the job. Waddell there taking on an almost stately appearance. He looks as though he's got a little bit of chalk from the line on his hair, Stuart.
He does indeed. I thought he was going grey before his time there.
Leeds still working the ball well, turned back inside by Bentley. And that's the sixth tackle, it'll be the handover. Seems to be a little bit of bad feeling at 1 or 2 points in this game, which rather surprises me, seeing as the sides have hardly met each other.
Yes, it was a very clean game at Sheffield at Saltergate earlier in the season. I can't understand this. The sides hardly know one another at all, John.
Are we perhaps seeing some of the fighting qualities that the Eagles will certainly need if they're to battle away from round about the bottom of the table?
Well, let's hope so, because it would be good for rugby league if Sheffield Eagles could return their position in the First Division. They've done tremendously well under very difficult circumstances.
I think everyone's full of admiration for them, but the Leeds fans will want to see them well beaten here this afternoon. Darryl Powell, one of the stars of the side, and that's a loose pass from Powell. Gamson had no chance collecting that one. A reminder, by the way, as we move into the last 7 or 8 minutes of the first half, the scoreline 12 points to 2 for Leeds. So the scrum down just inside the Sheffield half of the field. And Tawara Nikau was moving round into an offside position. Referee Steve Cross allows that play to go on because Leeds retain possession. Good ball from Creaser to Warren Wilson, and Wilson looking for the gap. Ackerman will find the gap if he wants to. It's there. Instead he feeds Gibson, and Gibson really got a few problems there. A lot of Sheffield tacklers. They were homing in on himself and Ackerman. Devorty. Cavalhue. Plenty of time to make the pass. Cruikshank. Oh, lovely little sidestep from Cruikshank. Carl Gibson. Gibson held right round the ankles. That was a good tackle coming in from Sean Willey. Cruikshank again. Maskill. Waddell. After that try, Waddell will be full of running. It will certainly brought him to life. Maskill. Devorty. He's already shown great holes in this Sheffield defence, and he almost got Maskill on a run down the middle there. The last tackle coming up. What will Leeds do from this situation? They've tended to run the ball so far. This time Schofield puts in the kick. And that's a tester for Nelson, and Gibson takes the ball out of his hands and scores the try. What a lovely try from Carl Gibson. Pure opportunism, and one has to say that Schofield's kick was measured absolutely to the centimetre, Stuart.
Yes, it was, John. I think the wind just held it back there. It was a very difficult ball for the Sheffield player to take, and Carl Gibson there. Incidentally, this is Carl Gibson's 75th consecutive match for Leeds. And if he manages to play in the next 5, he will equal a record that goes back to 1925 by John Hall.
The man with the facts and figures is Stuart Duffy. I'm John Boyd. This is the commentary of the match. Leeds versus Sheffield Eagles, and Leeds are moving away. 16 points to 2 they now lead by. Colin Maskill with the now familiar bucket of sand. I can't say, in all honesty, Stuart, I'm very much in favour of it, but I don't play the game.
No, they never used to see the sand on. It was a product of Australia, of course, like so many things in the modern day game. But the grounds over there are rock hard, and bear no resemblance to Headingley here. You could kick a divot up here with your bare feet. You wouldn't really need a football boot to do it, John.
I think, however, the players have got used to it, and it's certainly useful for them when they do actually go on tour.
It is indeed. It gets used to kicking exactly the same style. And that must be good, as you say, when they go on tour. And there's so many players playing in Australia in the close season now that they've brought these habits back, and they're probably good for the game.
Colin Maskill then, looking to kick his 3rd goal of the afternoon. 100% record so far, and he hasn't maintained it. I think the wind got hold of that one just a little bit, and the ball fading across the face of the uprights. So 2 out of 3 so far for Maskill. 16 points to 2. Leeds are now in the lead and well on their way to victory, and they'll need to win because one suspects that this afternoon Wigan will certainly dispose of the challenge of Salford at Central Park.
Yes, I would have thought that was a formality, John. And of course David Ward, there's a blackboard in the Leeds dressing room, and David Ward has put that he must have a minimum of 6 points from the Barrow, the Sheffield Eagles and the Lee match next week to keep the pressure on for the Wigan visit here on March the 4th. And
that'll be some match, and you will of course be able to see it on the club video. Carl Gibson straight back into the action. Devorty running from acting half-back. Good sensible one-man rugby, taking no chances inside their own 25. Leeds just taking the ball up. Cruikshank to Kuwaiti, and Kuwaiti gives the ball away. Aston was standing there just waiting for Kuwaiti to sling that pass. That's exactly what he did, and Aston said tar very much. Close. Looks to turn the ball back inside. That's a loose pass, and Nikau does well to pick that one up. 6 more tackles, says the referee. There was a Leeds hand on the ball. Close. Broadbent. Broadbent, a mighty man is he. Held up some 15 yards out. Anthony Farrell to acting halfback. Mark Aston. Aston, that's a good long pass to fullback Maiko, and Maiko to Leota. There's something on here, and Leota turning the ball back inside to Nicow, and Nicow held up just a yard short. And that was good tackling work from Warren Wilson. Excellent defensive play from the Leeds fullback. The ball pushed forward. An attempt there to score the try by Leota, or was it Grimoldby? There was a mass of bodies in there, but the Sheffield Eagles trying the old 1-2 trick, and it didn't work for them, Stuart.
No, it didn't work then. It was Leota that kicked the ball forward and tried to go through. But that was a good tackle there from Warren Wilson, assisted by Colin Maskell. I thought that was going to be a try there for Sheffield.
So the scoreline stays at 16 points to 2. We're inside the last 5 minutes of the first half, and David Maiko collects that ball confidently and runs forward. Once again, the Leeds tackling is in the right place at the right time. Close to Sonny Nicol, and Sonny Nicol puts the ball down. And he'll be extremely annoyed with himself for that. I wouldn't have thought there was too much sap in the surface, but we've seen 1 or 2 passes go astray.
That's right, John. It has been raining this week at Headingley, and there's quite a lot of sand on it. They have had drainage problems at Headingley in the last couple of years, but they did a lot of work in the summer, and it seems to be holding up pretty well this year.
The scrum wheeling, and that ball will come out on the Sheffield side, but in fact, good play from Gary Devotie. What a wide-awake boy he is. Dropping on the loose ball, and Leeds have possession. Waddell coming out of the scrum and straight back into the action, and Gary Schofield looking to add to his afternoon's tally. He's already scored 1 try. What an inspiration he is to the Leeds side. And what a good move it was to move him to stand off half, and Kuwaiti did well to slip that ball to Ackerman, and Ackerman was looking inside for the support. Gibson was outside. Gary Schofield across the line, Devotie to Cavalhue, and Leeds in full cry now. And that was a solid, firm tackle. The ooh from the crowd told you all about that one. Paul Dixon had a look around as he got to his feet, but the referee ruled it was quite legal. Waddell having a tilt. He's held 10 yards out. Leeds looking to put some more points on the board before half-time. Cruikshank, Kuwaiti, a lovely little dummy from Kuwaiti. Couldn't quite get the ball away after Sean Willey had made the half tackle. Leeds are on the last tackle. Has Kuwaiti taken a knock? No, he's getting to his feet, but slowly. Devotie, this will be the kick. Tried to play that one to himself. In fact, it ends up in the hands of Grimoldby. Another good sweeping move from Leeds there, Stuart.
Yes, it was a good move, that. Rob Ackerman looking inside for support, and Carl Gibson unfortunately stayed on his wing, or I think that could have been another try to Leeds, John.
So Leeds look as though they have the ability to open up the Eagles every time they go forward. It's as easy as shelling peas, but they're not having the game all their own way, as the scoreline of 16 points to 2 suggests. That's a good kick from Mark Aston, and this is where the Eagles score. They've got the ability to switch the point of play from inside their own half to deep inside the Leeds half. Cruikshank running. He was looking perhaps there for David Creaser. Creaser was inside him. Warren Wilson battling to fight his way clear of the would-be tacklers, but the Eagles have had a chance to regroup. And they look a very well organised side. Certainly when they get inside the Leeds half of the field, not so inside their own half. Again, Devotie with the opening. What a marvellous run, and who's at his shoulder but Gary Schofield. He turns the other way and instead finds Kuwaiti. Kuwaiti with the handoff. If Bentley can collect, there's still something on here. Bentley having to turn back inside. John Bentley still going, and Bentley held up 5 yards short, and once again Devotie, the man who set up the position. Can Leeds manage another try before half-time? Schofield turning back to where the play is, and Schofield still weaving that little bit of magic and trying to find his way through. He's held up just a couple of yards short. There's plenty of support on the open side. Now Leeds moving the ball. Maskell can see the gap. Sheffield were standing flat there. The ball was put to ground, and the referee adjudged a knock-on. I would have thought, quite frankly, that ball had been knocked forward by a Sheffield player.
Yes, I would agree with you there, John. I think that's a mistake there from Mr. Cross, but he was unsighted, and I suppose he has to give the benefit of the doubt to Sheffield as the ball did go to ground.
So not only does he award Leeds the scrum and aggrieve the crowd, he gives Sheffield the ball on the head, and Leeds take it against the head, and Cruikshank scores the try. Well, I would say that was justice, Stuart.
Yes, I would agree with you there, John. I think Leeds probably wouldn't have scored from that move, but they were certainly stopped by the referee, and they won the scrum against the head. That's the second scrum they've taken against the head this afternoon. And Cruikshank just went over on the post for the try. He won't score an easier try than that this afternoon.
So David Cruikshank, the little Aussie who settled well to his work. He hadn't had an awful lot of rugby before he joined Leeds, replacing Craig Coleman. And he's settled well to his work, and he looks as though he's been a member of the side for an awful long time. He really has settled well, Stuart.
He has, John, and he's a completely different type of player to Craig Coleman. Craig Coleman, of course, very rarely tackled in possession. He's very much the organiser. And Cruikshank, he likes to run with the ball. He likes to jig and weave, just like good scrum halves like Andy Gregory. And he's settled in well to Leeds side. I know they're delighted with him, and there may be a chance of him coming back next season, John.
That sounds like good news. And here's Colin Maskill. He's kicked 2 out of 3. Can he make it 3 out of 4? The answer is yes, because Maskill has now made the scoreline as we are fast approaching the hooter. 22 points to 2. The half-time interval almost upon us. There is the hooter in the background, and I would think, Stuart, that with 4 tries under their belt, Leeds will feel well pleased with their first half work.
Yes, it's been very impressive performance from Leeds. They've opened Sheffield up at ease every time they've run the ball, and been very impressed this afternoon with Gary Devotie. And again with Mike Coiti, who always looks good when he's in possession of the ball, always looking for support. It's been a good first half performance. As for Sheffield, I feel a little bit sorry for them. They've tried hard, and if things had gone different, the scoreline could have been well up and one where Leeds are now, John.
However, it hasn't. Devotie has had a stunning first 40 minutes, opening Sheffield up at will. The other players have taken full advantage of his ability to break through. They've scored 4 tries from Schofield, Waddell, Gibson and Cruikshank. Maskill's kicked 3 goals. The Eagles' only reply after the first 40 minutes, a penalty from Aston. The half-time score, Leeds 22, the Sheffield Eagles 2.
For the biggest of gaps there. This is going to be his first try. That's Cavalier, ex-Barrow player, of course. In for the first try. So simple, so easy there. This time the ball's coming out left, and it's Cruikshank, Devotie, Coiti. Oh, and Coiti's throw there. Could be a try for Rob Ackerman. And there is a debut try for Rob Ackerman. Well, this could be the start of a procession of tries for Leeds this afternoon. Cruikshank. Oh, spots the gap, goes himself. He's got Cavalier, pull back, obstructed there, Cavalier. And Mike Coiti's in for another try. Under the post. So easy for Leeds. Schofield with the ball. Schofield, that's away, that's a try to Gary Schofield, and he isn't even over the halfway line. Still going Gary Schofield. And that's going to be a try under the post. No doubt about it. What a tremendous try to Gary Schofield. Really. Yeah. What a tremendous player, Colin. Paul Dixon's been since he moved up to prop. Hello. Oh, and Leeds is wide open again. Cavalier is going in for his second try, is he? And it's under the post, and that's another try to Leeds and another try to Cavalier. Howard kicking off this time. And Coiti making no mistake. Bringing Leeds straight back on the attack. Oh, this could be another try. Carl Gibson, he's got the full back to beat. He's going round him. Is he? Yes, that's going to be a try to Carl Gibson. What a tremendous try to Carl Gibson. I keep using this word tremendous, David, but what else can you say? Waddell running strong in the middle of the field. There's the ball to himself. That's good play. Oh, Maskill again with the ball. Still Cruikshank. Well, it's still going. There could be something, another try for Carl Gibson. Ackerman. It's going to be a try to David Cruikshank. Well, Leeds seemingly scoring at will now. Devotie. Gibson. That's a try to Carl Gibson. Waddell. It's a ball out to Delaney. Cavalier. Back to Delaney. Maskill, that's going to be a try to Colin Maskill. And it is. Waddell. Schofield. Creaser. That's John Bentley now. John Bentley going now for the corner. That'll be a try to John Bentley. He's going to come inside. No. Waddell. Going himself. Schofield. Could be something here. Coiti. Oh, he wrong foot's all about the defence and rumps under the post. Schofield. On the ball, little ball away there to David Creaser. And again, a pass to Bentley. Schofield going himself, showing the ball. Still going on his Schofield, telling the defence inside out. I'm going to score a great try under the post. Oh, a great try for Well, Cruikshank standing off there at the scrum, making the extra man. Devoty picking that ball up and cuts to Paul Delaney. That's a try to Paul Delaney under the post. Devoty. Cavalier. Delaney's in for his second try under the post in 2 minutes. Devoty. Coiti. Lovely ball there to Ackerman, and still going Ackerman. Showing pace, Ackerman. Devoty. Devoty's over for the try. He's going to... Devoty. Ball out to Gibson. Gibson putting the kick in. Is it going to bounce for him? No. Gibson still going. That's a try to Ackerman. Yes, a great try there of Ackerman. Well, it looked all gone there when Carl Gibson put that kick up.
So Leeds taking to the field for the second half with that commanding lead of 22 points to 2. And Stuart Duffy, you've got the details of the first half, the scrums and penalties.
Yes, the scrums. Leeds have won the scrums by 4-3, including the 2 against the head. And the last one, the last scrum before half-time, was the one that David Cruikshank scored straight from the base of the scrum. And Leeds have taken the penalties also by 4-2.
So the statistics weighing up in favour of Leeds at the end of the first 40 minutes. I can't think that David Ward will have made a substitution unless he absolutely had to during the interval. And indeed, as I look around the Leeds side, I can't see that, in fact, there is a new player on. And we're looking on the far touchline, in fact, and we see that the 2 substitutes, Gary Lord and Roy Powell, are taking up their position on the bench. A little unfortunate that 2 such very good players should be unable to force their way into the side, Stuart.
It is, John, but that's what it's like at Leeds now. There's competition for places in almost every position. And this, of course, is what you need if you're going to compete with the likes of Wigan and Widnes. David Ward was telling me the other week that's an headache he prefers, to have to leave players out than having to play players who are sure of the thing. I'm very interested to see how Hugh Waddell performs with the threat of this boy Young from Rugby Union hanging over him. He's not been in the best of favour at Headingley this season. He doesn't like to be substitute, and I think he's making a good impression this afternoon, John.
Well, he's certainly taking the ball up at every opportunity, and of course he helped himself to what you described as a rare try in the first half.
Yes, he doesn't score many, Hugh. In fact, that is his first try for Leeds this season, and probably only his second in Leeds colours.
Well, it looks as though the Eagles have also maintained their starting lineup for this second half. Can't see any subs on for them either. But we will, of course, be doing a check for you and bring you right up to date just as soon as possible. Leeds, through Gary Schofield there, bulleting that ball down and bisecting the Sheffield defenders. And the Eagles immediately back under pressure at the start of this second half. This time it's the turn of the visitors to have the wind against them and the sun in their eyes, and it's still shining bright. Well taken by Cavalier. Running at top speed. And that took a good tackle from Broadbent to halt his progress. Paul Dixon there showing the ball. And then electing to hold on. Cruikshank. Devoty. Schofield. Battling his way through the first tackle, through the second, and Schofield almost finding the gap through the Sheffield's Eagles defence there. Cruikshank. Gary Devoty, here's a man who can find the gap. Again he sells the dummy, and again Sheffield buy it, and this time he has to sling a long ball back to Paul Dixon. He's already become a very big influence on this Leeds side, Gary Devoty, in a fairly short space of time. Here's Waddell. And after that try in the first half, Waddell will certainly be fancying his chances in the second half. The last tackle. Will Leeds run the ball again? Yes, they do. And that's a lovely pass from Schofield, and Coiti's in. And they really are putting it together this afternoon. You couldn't have a better start to the second half than that. And Leeds electing to run the ball on the last tackle, Stuart, and it paid off for them.
Yes, it did, John. I think it caught the Sheffield defence a little bit cold and a little bit in 2 minds whether the Leeds were going to place the kick. Gary Schofield showing that little bit of extra class that all the good players have got. Just ran with the ball, held it up a little while, and Mike Coiti bursting onto the pass, and nobody was going to stop him as he crashed over the line.
So Leeds already among the points at the start of this second half. 26 points to 2 they now lead. 5 tries. We've had 3 out of 4 attempts successful from Colin Maskill so far. And he's preparing once again to kick. And once again we see the Eagles back in their own in-goal area, Stuart. I wonder what will be running through their minds right now.
Well, it's the two worst times to concede a try. They conceded one right on the half-time outer. They had all the 10 minutes break to sit and think about it, and now straight from the kick-off, they let the ball go dead, and within 6 tackles of dropping out, they're back behind the post again. They must be really disappointed with the last 2 tries, John.
That one, the third Leeds try in a 7-minute spell either side of half-time. And has Maskill kicked that one? He has indeed. There's no stopping the boy at this stage of the game, adding to his growing reputation almost every time he touches the ball, Stuart.
Yes, he can do no wrong here. Last week, of course, he came within 2 goals of equalling Lewis Jones's long-time standing record for goal kicks for Leeds. And the Leeds supporters were actually booing him when he was missing them, and he was having a great rapport with the lads in the south stand. And when he did kick one from the touchline in the wind, he bowed to the south stand and they were delighted.
So Mark Aston preparing to get the Eagles back underway. And in the meantime, Leeds have made a substitution. I can see that Gary Lord has joined the fray. And we'll work out for you in just a moment who's gone off. In fact, it's Gary Devorty who's left the field. Roy Powell still warming up on the far touchline. Well, he must have taken a knock, Devorty. I can't think that'll be a tactical substitution, Stuart.
I wouldn't have thought so. Not with bringing Gary Lord on. He's obviously going to play Gary Lord in the second row and put Mike Coetti to loose forward. It must be that he's taken a knock, Gary Devorty.
I remember Gary Lord coming into the game as a Castleford player. I played him at 3-quarter and at full-back. And he's turned out here for Leeds, of course, in the second row on numerous occasions this season. He's also played at full-back, and he's turning out to be a very reliable acquisition indeed.
He is, John. Gary Lord has exceeded everybody's expectations of him here. A player that Malcolm Reilly signed, in fact, it was his first signing for Leeds, was expected to blossom under Reilly, and in fact has come to fruition under David Ward.
So there we are, that's the background on Gary Lord. A reminder, the scoreline is 28 points to 2, and the Sheffield Eagles enjoying a rare moment of possession with Broadbent. But he's held 10 yards short of the halfway line. Farrell to close to Aston. And this time it's Tuara Nikau, and that ball's gone to ground. And the referee coming out on the Sheffield side, and that's once again good work by Leeds. This time it was Gary Lord managing to steal the ball. Ackerman does well to get that pass away to Cruikshank, who's now running across the park, looking for the gap as he straightened up. And again there was a suspicion of a head tackle. Again referee Stephen Cross made no move. Cavill-Hugh this time. Was that a forward pass? The indications are that it was. So that was another promising Leeds move, halted there, Stuart, by the referee's decision.
Yes, a correct decision, I thought then, John. It looked very forward to me. I thought David Cruikshank played a big part in the build-up to that. He really is strong. He looks slight of body, but he really is a strong player and takes a lot to bring him down when he's got the ball.
Ball out on the Sheffield side, close making progress. Nabbed by Coetti. With a bit of assistance from skipper Gary Schofield. Broadbent thrown bodily back there on the 10-yard line inside the Sheffield half. Close was looking for his half-back partner Aston there and electing not to make the pass and dying instead with the ball. And the Eagles still penned back inside their own half of the field. Aston there slipping a short pass to the substitute Neil Kellett, and Kellett couldn't hold it and the ball went to ground. Well, it says in the programme note, Stuart, that Neil Kellett lost 2 stone during the summer in a bid to establish himself in the Eagles side. I wonder if he's put a little bit of it back on during the winter.
It certainly looks like he has. He looks like a battler lad, actually, John, at the moment. He seems to put that on very much so.
And Leeds about to make another substitution. Roy Powell this time, the man coming on. And Gary Lord will switch to full back because Warren Wilson is the Leeds player leaving the field. Nice to see the big fella Roy Powell back in action. Big, strong lad. I always feel he's more effective when the opposition have got the ball. That's perhaps a mark of the quality of his tackling work, Stuart.
His tackling at times can be devastating. I know that David Ward would like to make him into more of an attacking player. He does tend to run about and do his tackling in sort of 10-yard squares, John. But his tackling is second to none when he's on form.
Cavill-Hugh bursting through to Gary Schofield. Schofield does well to get the ball away to Dixon, and a mighty tackle coming in there from Tuara Nikau. I think Nikau perhaps suggesting to the referee that Dixon had grounded the ball, but there was no suggestion of it from here. Cruikshank. Oh, and Coetti gets that lovely pass away, and Ackerman is held just a couple of yards short of the line. And this is Leeds at their very best when they're moving the ball out wide and when the passes are sticking. Well, Gary Schofield holding on just a shade too long there, Nick Grimoldby. I think perhaps it was the right decision because the Eagles were standing up and there would have been a risk of an interception. Cruikshank attempting the kick through, and he got the treatment from Nick Howe, and Grimoldby benefits because he's the one who picks up the ball and makes 5 yards before he's nabbed by Cavalhue. Farrell running from acting half-back, but not running for, not making much progress at all. I would reckon they'll be a little bit disappointed, Sheffield Eagles, with the amount of money they paid for Farrell and the way he's performed for them since he signed.
Yes, he was the club's ever costliest signing from Huddersfield, and he had under 21 international honours with Huddersfield and looked a good prospect at Huddersfield, but he certainly hasn't done the business in the First Division, where, of course, there isn't that much time and the gaps close that much quicker, John.
Still to come to his best has Farrell. In the meantime, the Eagles still in possession, and Broadbent hauled down by David Creaser. Good work by the centre. Another player who must be on the fringe of the touring side, although he's had an awful long spell out through injury, David Creaser. He was certainly favoured by Malcolm Reilly, and he's one of those kind of utility backs who's very useful to take on tour, David Creaser.
Yes, David Creaser wouldn't let you down anywhere. He's played on the wing, he's played at full-back, he's played standoff for Leeds, and of course he's played in the centre. And he always gets his ticks on the tackle sheet. He's there all the time. He doesn't make very many mistakes.
Ball out on the Leeds side. Creaser and Schofield, Cruikshank into the move, and Cruikshank held up on the 25. The Eagles weren't buying that set-piece move from Leeds. Roy Powell, chance for the big fella to run. He burst through the first tackle, and then he's hauled back by 3 men. Schofield hauling the ball down there from above his head. Kuwaiti's seen the gap. Kuwaiti's gone through it, and the referee's given obstruction, and I can't help but feel that there was no intention there from David Creaser to cause an obstruction.
Not at all, John. He wasn't really in the line. He's just having a word with John Bentley, and I think that was a fairly harsh decision by Mr. Cross. It was a really good ball there from Kuwaiti to Bentley, and Bentley was over the line and had to be brought back.
Nevertheless, the Eagles have been awarded the penalty, and we have to stick with the referee's decisions, especially in this game of rugby league. Taking their time about threading the ball back to Mark Aston and getting a bit of bird from the Headingley crowd. Aston into touch. Not really been at the top of his form this afternoon, Mark Aston. Hasn't had the room that he would like to work in, although he's managed to register what by now seems the mandatory 2 points that he must score in every game. Here's Kellett, and he broke through that tackle from Maskill, but his own momentum carried him downwards. Broadbent. 3 Leeds men immediately surround him. Leeds caught offside. There haven't been too many offside decisions given today, but Steve Cross was looking for that one.
Yes, he was. He was looking at Mike Kuwaiti, who was, I've noticed a couple of times, he just strayed out of the line as Sheffield have been playing the ball then.
And David Nelson making no progress whatsoever there, thrown back by Carl Gibson. Good work by the Leeds winger. Farrell from the acting half-back position, the hooker. Again, the Leeds tackling is crisp and firm. They'll remember in the first half that the Eagles came close to scoring on a couple of occasions, and they won't want to give them anything like an opportunity in the second half. Although, of course, Leeds now got a comfortable lead of 28 points to 2. They'll want to add to that. They've got one of the best defensive records in the league, and they'll want to keep that tight as well. Here's Daryl Powell, a man who can break down any defence. Through the first couple of tackles, Powell, and still going before eventually being grabbed. And that was good work indeed by Rob Ackerman, it was. No acting half-back, and Sheffield Eagles paying the full penalty. Bad lack of discipline there, Stuart.
Yes, very unprofessional there. No acting half-back at all, and Leeds in position and in possession, and the ball's been stolen as we watch it there, John.
Indeed, Neil Kellett right on the spot to take Cruikshank's pass, and the Eagles are back in possession. Creaser misses the tackle. Grimoldby goes on. That's good work by Cruikshank. Took him right round the ankles. Close. Got Sonny Nicol running in support, and Nicol breaking through that first tackle from Colin Maskill, but held at the second attempt. Eagles are 10 yards out. Close, looks for Aston, finds him. Aston, a little pass to Nick Howe, and Tawara Nick Howe looking as though he perhaps thought he could fly there. A Batman imitation from Nick Howe, trying to fly over the tacklers. Daryl Powell. Maiko in support, and Maiko held up 5 yards short, and this is the last tackle. I wonder if the Eagles will run the ball like Leeds did in the first half. I suspect we're more likely to see an up and under, but let's not attempt to be a prophet. In fact, Daryl Powell with a little drop kick through, and not working out to the best advantage to Sheffield Eagles, but a good little spell of pressure from them nevertheless, Stuart.
Yes, they look good in that pressure there, John. To move the ball crisply along the line. I thought they were a little bit unlucky there at the end. That was passed just a little bit too hard. I think that probably Daryl Powell expected the wind just to hold that back like it did in the first half for Leeds.
I think it's a great shame that Gary Devote's gone off, because the way he entertained us in the first half of the game, I think we were all looking forward to lots more entertainment in the second half. No doubt he's taken a knock. And this is Grimold before the Eagles. Kellett. Nicely unloaded to Daryl Powell, and Powell sizing through there. And that was an excellent tackle. Powell was beautifully held by Gary Schofield. Aston opening play up, Sonny Nicol. Oh, and well taken by Maiko. The ball bounced off his chest and then he held it at the second attempt, and Leeds being forced back once again by the Sheffield Eagles. Aston shaping to kick, instead slipping the pass to Kellett, gets the return ball. And again it's Schofield who wraps him up, and Leeds are back in possession. And there's a run for Waddell. Well, he didn't quite have the legs to make it up to halfway, but he has done now at the second attempt, and that really brought the crowd back into life, Stuart.
Yes, showing tremendous pace here, Waddell. Outstripped the defenders for a good 15 yards before they finally caught up with him. And Leeds again making a mistake there, and Sheffield back in possession, John.
Not the best decision for Paul Dixon to make, to unleash that ball. However, he wasn't to know that Roy Powell was going to knock on and the Eagles were going to regain possession. Broadbent over the halfway line. 28 points to 2 the scoreline. And the clock says that we're a good 12 minutes into the second half. Oh, this is good tackling by Leeds. They're standing up on Sheffield now, giving them no opportunities whatsoever, and they've nicked the ball back again, this time through Carl Gibson. Powell just couldn't get into a running stride there. Roy Powell, I'm sure he would like a run too. Leeds have already grabbed 5 tries. 2 of them have come from the forwards. Dixon this time having a tilt. Gets in 10 yards inside the Sheffield half of the field. Cruikshank to Coiti. Coiti throws a lovely dummy. Coiti still going, turns the ball inside to Schofield. And Schofield's doing an awful lot of hunting on Coiti's shoulder.
Yes, I think he realises now, Gary Schofield, after 4 or 5 matches from Mike Coiti, that this boy can really play. He's a perfect pass. He floats out some beautiful balls, as he did last week for Carl Gibson's try, John.
That was Roy Powell there looking for the gap. Maskill, this will be a huge up and under. It's got a little bit of breeze behind it. Oh, and Maiko makes a mess of it. In fact, it was close. The ball bounced off his shoulder. And he certainly didn't fancy that one, did he, Stuart?
No, he didn't. That seemed to be coming down with snow on it, John, and poor David Maiko there, just never really under it. Of course, the sun in his eyes again, John. It's very difficult to take those sort of balls.
The scrum goes down 15 yards out from the Sheffield line. Coiti to Cruikshank. He's got to run for the line again. Coiti coming very quickly out of the scrum there. Cruikshank running this time from the play the ball, and is he in? No, he isn't. The referee says he didn't play the ball properly, and he's given Sheffield the penalty.
Yes, he's saying that he didn't play the ball correctly there. He didn't have a marker, so it was the right thing to do, but I just think that he tapped the ball on his foot there and never let go of it, John.
So Leeds denied a try, and Sheffield have the relieving penalty, which Aston boots unceremoniously onto the recently repaired roof of the North Stand. It's looking in fine shape nowadays, a stand that goes back to the 1930s when it was built for a sum something round about £30,000, would you believe? You'd be lucky to buy enough seats to fill it for that sort of money nowadays. It is, of course, to be the subject of development at Headingley in the near future. Schofield to David Creaser. Creaser's seen the gap, looked back inside Creaser, and has Creaser got the try? The touch judge is in. He's going to have a comment to make here. That was lovely play from David Creaser, but I don't think Leeds are going to get the try awarded. Referee Stephen Cross is coming across, and what's he going to do? And now Leeds going to get the try. In the meantime, he's having a word with one of the Sheffield players who looks like Mark Gamson at this angle. Having a very stiff word indeed. The touch judge was straight in there. David Creaser finding the space, finding the gap. And he's awarded Leeds a penalty. Well, I think they probably would rather have had the try. Colin Maskill then will get play back underway. Schofield. Long ball across the line to Coiti. Coiti to Powell, and Leeds are really putting it together now, but Powell was standing still when he took the pass and lost the ball. A golden opportunity gone begging there, Stuart.
Yes, Leeds will be unlucky there that they didn't get the try. They'll be disappointed with that decision to be awarded a penalty. It looked a good enough try to me. I don't know what went on there between Mark Gamson and David Creaser, but the referee, on the touch judge's instigation, he might add, awarded a penalty to Leeds.
So David Creaser denied a try. That would have been a welcome one to him. He's already scored more than 1,000 points for the Leeds club. which he joined straight from school. Oh, and Carl Gibson within an inch there of forging an interception. That was desperately unlucky for Gibson. He's already scored one this afternoon. He would have loved to have made it two there, and the crowd in the north stand give him a warm round of applause because they perhaps realised just how near he was to grabbing hold of that interception and getting himself over for a try. So still 28 points to 2 the scoreline, but Leeds look likely to add to that. The ball in and out on the Sheffield side. David Close grabbed very quickly, not able to make progress. Sonny Nicol having a tilt from acting half-back. The ball's gone loose and Carl Gibson picks up. Carl Gibson running right at the defence. He's held just a couple of yards short. He's got tremendous strength for a winger, Gibson, and Leeds are back in the box seat. Cavill gone to acting half-back to Schofield. Schofield looking to bring somebody onto the pass. Roy Powell, he needs to hang on. 5 yards out. An excellent opportunity here for Leeds to score another try. Maskill turns the play. Cavill, has he forced his way over? The referee will have to decide. No, he says he'll have to play the ball. He was held up a yard short. Colin Maskill, Gary Schofield. Schofield away from the first tackler, away from the second, and once again the decision for obstruction. And that one looked a little bit more clear-cut than the last one, Stuart.
Yes, Gary Schofield threw a huge dummy out there and then ran right behind Hugh Waddell. And of course Hugh Waddell with his size blocked out half of the Sheffield team from seeing Gary Schofield.
So the penalty awarded for obstruction, and Mark Aston will take it. (16 or 17 minutes gone in the second half. Leeds well in command. Broadbent. Firm challenge indeed there from Hugh Waddell. Broadbent did well to hold on to that pass. Close. Well, Close was looking more at the would-be tackler than he was at the man where he was going to sling the pass. Kawiti was closing down on him very, very quickly. And Close obviously not relishing the physical challenge. And the Sheffield Eagles about to make a substitution, and it's Farrell going off again. He'll be a disappointed man. He went off in the cup tie at Wakefield last week. And the previous week he started the match on the bench. And I would think, despite the fact that he's got that left knee heavily bandaged, Anthony Farrell will be a very disappointed man indeed. So Andy Young joins the fray. Neil Kelly takes the hooking role. And the ball out on the Leeds side, and that's a lovely time pass for Gary Lord to run onto. Lord gets it back to Ackerman, Ackerman back to Schofield, and Schofield very unfortunate there. Trying very hard to keep the move going was Gary Schofield, and Leeds are playing the kind of rugby that this crowd up here not only expects but demands, Stuart.
Yes, that was brilliant play there from Leeds, John. Gary Schofield probably took the wrong option at the end, but I think Leeds can afford to experiment a bit. 28 points to 2 up. He was out to please the crowd. If Carl Gibson had taken that, it was a certain try. And Leeds winning the scrum against Head there.
So that's 3 in this match already for Colin Maskill. These are vital possession moments for Leeds. Cruikshank to Powell, and Powell wanted to get the pass in and just couldn't because Darryl Powell had come round behind him, his namesake, on the Sheffield lineup. Cavill bursting his way through. Powell, he must score from this range. No, he's held up a yard short. Mike Kawiti's gone to acting half-back. Kawiti tried to kick through, I think, there, Kawiti, rather than playing the ball to himself. It misfired, and Sheffield Eagles have gained what for them will be welcome possession, Stuart, being pinned back on their own line.
Yes, they've been very lucky, Sheffield Eagles. They've been under the cosh virtually for the whole of this second half, and so far Leeds only managed the one try from Mike Kawiti. They've been very close on a number of occasions. And then we see Sheffield losing the ball there in the hard tackling from Leeds. That's happened on numerous occasions this afternoon.
Gary Schofield then on the break on the far side, dummies once. Steps back inside Schofield. Can he force his way over? No, in fact, the ball has been stolen. Has Colin Maskill nicked it back? No, he hasn't. The Eagles have retained possession on their own line. There's a rare old melee over there at the moment. A pile of bodies. Steve Cross confirms that the Eagles have retained possession by coming out on the Leeds side. So again, the Eagles having a narrow escape, and this time getting themselves a penalty. Colin Maskill, though, has now taken 3 against the Head, Stuart, and this is valuable when I can say it. Valuable possession for Leeds.
Well, it is, John, but it's interesting to note that Sheffield have been awarded 5 penalties in this second half, and they only were awarded 2 in the first half, so the Leeds possession that they're getting from the scrum is being squandered a bit by giving away silly penalties.
Which you will say important instead of valuable. And here comes Kellett, the substitute for the Eagles, but not for long. Kawiti hauls him down. Darryl Powell. Good runner, Powell, dangerous player. But all the Sheffield team are finding they're having to do their best work inside their own half of the field at the moment as Leeds pin them back. And the cry, Loiners, coming up from the south stand as Andy Young presses forward once again for the Eagles. The last tackle coming up. And Sean Willey brushing off the challenge there very easily. Gary Lord does well, collects that ball without anything of a flutter. But can't escape the tackling. David Nelson it was who was very quickly on him. Carl Gibson in field looking for work. Be nice to see Gibson have a long run. I feel perhaps, Stuart, that Leeds might be more dangerous from this kind of a position with the runners they've got in the side.
Yes, just a half break. If somebody gets the pass away, there's so many speedmen in the Leeds side. Gary Schofield, Carl Gibson. They've got John Bentley, of course, who can run the length of the field, and they could score tries from far out. And they're the referee just awarding a knock-on in that melee.
Well, Hugh Waddell looks aggrieved about that, because it seemed to take referee Stephen Cross a long time to make his mind up that Waddell had knocked on, and at that point there were already at least 2 Sheffield men laid on top of him. Ball out on the Sheffield side. Close to Aston, to Powell. This is nice handling from Sheffield. Maiko into the line and he's put the ball down. Well, just when I was giving them a compliment for handling well, they put the ball down. Roy Powell. Again, Hugh Waddell, a willing worker from the Leeds front row, taking that ball up to Sheffield. Cruikshank to Kuwaiti. Kuwaiti. The programme says that he weighs in at 14.5 stone, but the way that he's built, at over 6 feet tall, he could quite easily be a 3/4 Kuwaiti. He's also got enough pace to see him through in that direction as well. Penalty awarded to Leeds. Sonny Nicol not allowing Kuwaiti to play the ball properly. And Maskill will push the Loiners forward once again. Does seem rather strange, Stuart, that Leeds haven't added to the tally. The Kuwaiti try and the Maskill goal scored in the first 2 minutes of the second half.
Yes, John, but they've had all the football and just the final pass has gone astray. I think Leeds have been trying to play just too much open football instead of perhaps settling it down at the crucial moment.
Waddell, however, back inside the 25. Maskill looks around for his options. Well, at first it looked as though perhaps he was going to bring Roy Powell onto that pass and instead electing that Dixon would be the recipient. Again, the dummy from Leeds, Kuwaiti this time, the runner. Kuwaiti shows the ball, goes through the gap. And Gary Lord must score, and Gary Lord hasn't scored because Gary Lord has been forced into touch on that far side and just couldn't get the ball down, and I think we have to give full marks there to the Sheffield tacklers and Sonny Nicol especially.
Yes, it was a great tackle from Sonny Nicol. Gary Lord took the ball, Leeds were lining up, queuing up there to score, and Gary Lord it was who took the pass and was bundled into touch just short of the flag.
So Sheffield Eagles this time taking the ball from the scrum. And once again back in possession, but once again in a familiar position, defending, even though they're in possession on their own line. Leeds lined, waiting to swoop. David Maiko this time running from acting half-back. A reminder, 28 points to 2 is the scoreline. Aston will kick, and he does. It's long, but not long enough, and it bounces beautifully for Gary Lord, and he gets another chance to get his name on the score sheet with a long run. And once again, it's Sonny Nicol who grabs him. And a good run, nevertheless, from Gary Lord. Carl Gibson this time has adopted the acting half-back position. Cruikshank reaching for the pass slightly. Rob Ackerman hasn't had too many running chances, the centre. He'll be enjoying life in the big time, Ackerman. He enjoyed it when he was a rugby union player. Then decided to turn professional in the backwaters of Cumbria with Whitehaven, and now certainly in the big time with Leeds. He'll be loving this spell in the spotlight. Gary Schofield, Roy Powell. Powell taking the pass standing still, and therefore not able to make anything like progress. An easy target for the Sheffield tacklers. Cruikshank. Kuwaiti once again the runner, and Kuwaiti takes the pass beautifully. Will he go on his own this time, Kuwaiti? Up towards the line, still looking to unload, and he does so, and Schofield scored a try. And as we said earlier, Stuart, Gary Schofield is hunting on the shoulder of Mike Coeitee, and it's paid off for him again.
It's a perfect example of what we were saying there. He realises that Coeitee can slip the ball out of the most impossible situations, and he made all the running there. It was a lovely ball that he ran onto Coeitee. I thought he was going to go all the way himself, but when he was held up just short of the line, who was there? Master poacher Gary Schofield.
So another try for Leeds. That's 2 for Schofield this afternoon. Waddell, Gibson and Cruikshank and Coeitee have all scored tries as well. And Leeds are beginning to turn it on. They now lead by 32 points to 2. And a quick check on the watch shows me that there's around about 15 minutes left to play in the match. Colin Maskill once again with the goal attempt. He's kicked 4 from 5. And a good chance here for him to make it 5 from 6. A lovely move from Leeds, a flowing move. Coeitee once again the runner, and once again the man with an eye for an opening. When he was held up, he slipped the ball to Schofield, and before you knew where you were, there were 4 more points on the board, and Maskill has now made them worth 6 points. So 34 points to 2, and Leeds beginning to move right into top gear, and at the moment we would have to say they're far too good for the Sheffield Eagles.
Yes, the gulf between the second division and the first division being shown well this afternoon. Sheffield came up in a blaze of glory, had a few good moments at the beginning of the season, but now they're realising that every game in the first division is tremendously hard, John.
And the points that Leeds are getting, of course, won't do their points difference in the first division table any harm at all. It's still inferior to Wigan, and I suggest it probably will be at the end of this game, but nevertheless valuable points for Leeds. 34 points to 2 they lead. Waddell breaks through the first tackle. It takes another 2 Sheffield men to hold him. Gary Schofield will kick. It's a probing kick from Schofield, a difficult bouncing ball. The sun still in the eyes of the Sheffield defenders, and Maiko did well to collect, and who else would run up and grab him but Gary Schofield, and Maiko still inside his own 25. Nelson infield looking for work, coming off his right wing. 7 tries under his belt this season, Nelson, but not looked like grabbing one this afternoon, and that's a very loose pass. And Maiko running into one of his own men, finishing up on the turf. Grimaldby this time. Grimaldby running away and running well, long striding Grimaldby. Cruikshank grabs him, what a super tackle. That was a good break though from Grimaldby, running through broken play, looking to find the gap. Darryl Powell. Powell gets the ball away to Close, and Close running back into where all the bodies are, and there was never going to be any room for David Close to break free from that situation. Coeitee, in fact, I'm mixing my Kiwis up. That was Nick Howe, and this is Gamson. Once again the ball's gone loose. Roy Powell drops on it for Leeds. There's been an awful lot of ball put down by Sheffield in this second half.
Yes, they have. The last move there that Grimaldby ran, that was from a loose ball situation, and again we see there Gamson wasting possession. Really nothing, they threw the ball away there. It wasn't lost in the tackle, it was just a terrible wild pass and it went forward.
Cruikshank to Schofield, again Coeitee running onto the pass. Rob Ackerman held up, and Ackerman unable to get that ball away before he was hauled down. Coeitee running from acting half-back. He's got Gibson outside him, and Gibson, a lovely run from Gibson. He's past 2 men, the full-back's across. Can he skin him? No, he can't, but what a good run, and once again Coeitee was the architect, Stuart.
Yes, it's worked very well. Coeitee plays out wide in the centres and makes play for the winger. Last week, in a similar situation, he gave a beautiful pass to Carl Gibson, who ran sort of some 70 yards to score against Barrow, and there we nearly saw it again. Gibson taking one man on the touchline and just not evading Maiko. I'm very, very impressed with David Maiko's tackling this afternoon in last-ditch situations, John.
Well, he's had plenty of it to do because the Sheffield Eagles have been under an awful lot of pressure. 34 points to 2 Leeds lead. The scrum going down inside the Sheffield Eagles 25. It's out and well taken by Mark Aston. That was a beautiful catch. Darryl Powell over the 25, and he's a danger man. He can run. He's certainly one player who can go the length of the field. A Great Britain under-21 international. Kellett. Oops, and there was a tangle there off the ball between David Creaser and Andy Young, the Sheffield sub, but there was no malice in it. Kellett fooling everybody by the way he whirled as he took the pass. Andy Young this time. And what's the referee going to say here? He says there was a loose elbow going in there. There's no argument from Cavallo, so we assume that the referee's decision was correct. And a good attendance here for this match this afternoon. Confirmed, there's another 5-figure attendance. 10,023 have turned up on what is a very pleasant February afternoon. But of course it's as cold as it can be at this time of the year.
We just see a substitution for Leeds there. Carl Gibson, injured in that tackle by David Maiko, has gone off, and Warren Wilson has come back and taken up a place on the left wing.
And our thanks there to Stuart Duffy. So both teams in this game of rugby league at every opportunity must be maintained at 13 men aside. And I think that was probably one of the brighter decisions that was made at rugby league headquarters when it was decided that subs could in actual fact come on the field, then go off, and players who'd gone off could come back on. And here's a break for Leeds. Cavalhue, and Cavalhue in soccer style. There's a race between him and Gamson. John Bentley's joining in, and Gamson just had the pace. But what a good run from Cavalhue. Soccer style from Hugh, perhaps kicking the ball just a yard and a half too far, not allowing him the chance to catch up and drop on that ball, but it was good inventive play again from Leeds. Andy Young held inside his own 25-yard line. Leeds still seeking points. They'd love to get some more tries on the board. They've got half a dozen already. Grimoldby inside his own 25. Sheffield still playing with a lot of spirit and still working hard, Stuart.
Yes, I was very impressed with the pace there of Mark Gamson. I remember him here as a Colt. He was a scrum half when Leeds signed him as a Colt, and he played here in the Premiership, the Colts Premiership final, in a side that contained such as Brendan Hill, Richard Gunn, Paul Medley for Leeds, and he was one of the unlucky ones that Leeds didn't sign from that Colts side.
He was in good company at the time. All the lads have made a good career out of the game. And what's the referee say here? He says that it's the handover because that was a knock-on. Hugh Waddell having another tilt. Waddell up to within 8 yards of the line. Held upright in the tackle. Colin Maskill goes to acting half-back. What have Leeds got on here? Gary Schofield was discussing matters there. With 1-2, Cavalhue throws the dummy, and Hugh just grabbed round the ankles by Grimoldby, and that was only just. Paul Dixon running from acting half-back, held up a couple of yards short of the line. And Leeds looking as though they're going to put some more points on the board here. Gary Schofield. Roy Powell. Powell to Creaser, and Creaser gets the pass into Gary Lord, and Lord will score the try. And that's nice work, and that was very good handling by Leeds, and excellent handling, especially by David Creaser. He's got a very good pair of hands, Creaser, exactly as he displayed there, Stuart.
Yes, quick passing along the line there from Leeds. Creaser, one of those players who can pass with his hands. He doesn't have to turn his body into the pass, so therefore the ball came out very quickly, and Gary Lord was in support, and Leeds had men to spare there with John Bentley outside him.
Well, this will be the hardest of the kicking opportunities that Colin Maskill's had this afternoon. But he loves a challenge, does old Cole, and he'll certainly fancy his chances of kicking this one from the touchline. We're moving now into the closing stages of the game. I would guess there's about 7 or 8 minutes left. I'm sure that Stuart will confirm that for us. In fact, he tells me there's only 5 minutes left. Try for Gary Lord. That, of course, was Leeds' 7th try of the afternoon. And Maskill a chance here to make it his 6th goal from 7 attempts. I'm sure they'll all forgive him if he misses this one. But as I say, he loves a challenge, and he'll fancy his chances of kicking this one from the touchline. Some of the crowd already beginning to make their way home. They know they've seen a Leeds victory. And it's just a question of what the scoreline will finish at now. Sheffield's only points from an Aston penalty, and that came in the first half. Well, there were a few groans as that ball began its journey towards the uprights, and I think they told their own story. Colin Maskill doesn't add the points. Nevertheless, he has kicked 5 goals this afternoon to go with the 7 tries that Leeds have scored. Hasn't had a kickable penalty, has he, this afternoon, Stuart?
No, he hasn't, John. Leeds have only had 7 penalties, and none of them been in really kickable position. They've all been really in their own half around halfway line.
So the Sheffield Eagles facing an impossible task now in the last 5 minutes of the game. They trail by 38 points to 2 as Close gets them back underway. Warren Wilson having a run for Leeds. Again, like most of the players on both sides, making absolutely certain he doesn't knock on. Deep inside his own half. Roy Powell. Waddell. Can't break the tackle. Cruikshank, Schofield. Leeds will certainly play the full 80 minutes, and Gary Schofield has already found the gap. Kuwaiti on his shoulder this time. Got Warren Wilson outside him, and Wilson did well to turn that ball back into Kuwaiti, who again looked to unload the pass, and a warm round of applause They love that in front of the north stand, that super handling move. David Creaser, and Creaser turning the ball into Maskill. And did he pass that ball off the ground? And what does referee Steve Cross say? I think he says that he does, and it's the handover.
Good play again there. Gary Schofield just showing the dummy all. The Sheffield Eagles defenders bought it. Lovely ball to Coiti. And Coiti made ground before they give it to Warren Wilson, who, as you say, John, did tremendously well to get the ball back inside.
Another fine flowing move from Leeds. Didn't produce any points, but it's produced some super rugby this afternoon to entertain this crowd of 10,023. Well, Broadbent's still got a bit of running in him. The Sheffield prop forward. They've played with a lot of spirit, Sheffield Eagles. Never given up. Here's Mark Aston. Ooh, and Creaser was within an inch of making the interception, and Maiko instead collecting the ball. And Creaser quick enough to turn and nab him. David Creaser, one who suffered from a lot of injuries this season, and it's really nice to see him back in action. Can operate in the centre, also at standoff half, and can also play at full-back. A very useful member of the squad. Registered more than 1,000 career points for the club. Daryl Powell, big, strong lad. Taking 3 Leeds men eventually to bring him to ground. Close, will he kick? Well, he showed the ball as if to do so, and Roy Powell said thanks very much, and managed to hold on to that ball at the second attempt. So Leeds back in possession. Paul Dixon bursts off that challenge, shrugs away another man. Dixon was looking for a little bit of support outside him, but John Bentley had come inside. Bentley had very few running chances this afternoon, despite the fact that Leeds have enjoyed such a great deal of possession. Leeds throwing the ball about now beautifully. Coiti taking the ball on the burst, coming onto Schofield's pass. Leeds still keeping it moving. Cruikshank, and again he gets the ball away. Rob Ackerman with a running chance, and Rob Ackerman keeps it moving. Coiti again, and again Schofield was moving in at his shoulder, and again the applause ringing out round this Headingley ground for the way Leeds are moving the ball. Schofield, the long pass, Cavill-Hugh. Waddell over the 25, and Waddell, he's a man who sees Route 1 and likes what he sees, and goes down the middle and held up 15 yards short. The last tackle. Can Leeds make something of it? We're moving rapidly towards the hooter. Roy Powell. Powell dummies. Can he get the ball away? Yes, he can, to Paul Dixon, and Dixon to Creaser, and Creaser's in for the try. And another super display of handling from Leeds. And I'm very pleased David Creaser's got a try there, because he's worked very hard this afternoon. He crossed once earlier, Stuart, only to find that he had to come back, and Leeds were awarded a penalty, and finally he's got one. Yes, he'll be delighted with David Creaser. I know how hard he's worked to get back to fitness, as I've spent many hours with him in the gym with his knee injury at the beginning of the season, and there was never any doubt in his own mind that he would get there. He'll be delighted with that. Incidentally, in that play, in that set of 6 tackles, there was one occasion there where Mike Coiti was involved 3 times in one passing moment. He's been a tremendous player this afternoon. He must be a strong candidate for the man of the match. Well, it might be hard to choose the man of the match, but because Leeds have had so many star performers, and after their big haul against Barrow last week, I think perhaps we wondered if they could repeat the feat this week and be among the points again, and they haven't let anybody down here at Headingley today. They've already run 8 tries in against this Sheffield Eagles side, and they've already registered 42 points, and Colin Maskill trying to tack 2 more on, and he's done it too. He fancied that one all right, did Maskill. He's kicked the goal. That's his 6th of the afternoon, and Leeds now go 44 points to 2 clear, and that's going to be the last scoring action of the match, as Leeds go to a 44 points to 2 victory, and they really have held all the aces this afternoon, Stuart. They have. The Sheffield Eagles never really been in the game. They've had to do a lot of tackling, they've made a lot of errors with the ball, and Leeds played the kind of football that the crowd have enjoyed here, and the Leeds players just waving to the crowd, and that's a nice gesture at the end of a very good game. I know that David Ward was impressing on the Leeds players that he would have liked Sheffield Eagles 0 this afternoon to go with the Barrow 0 in last week. Well, they've done the next best thing. The only chance that Sheffield have really had is the penalty by Mark Aston. I think it's been very interesting as well, Stuart. We praised Gary Devorty for his first half performance. Leeds led 22 points to 2 at half-time, and although they got a try very quickly in the second half, Devorty was off the field, and when we look at the end of the day, we see that even without him, they've exactly doubled their tally. That's right. It took them a long time to get into the stride in the second half. They scored in the 42 minutes. It was 66 minutes before they added to the try scoring. I think they just took a while to settle down. Gary Devorty very much the architect and the playmaker around the base of the scrum and the rucks, and I think they suffered a little when he went off, John. OK, let's just wrap up the match details. 2 tries for Gary Schofield and 1 each for Waddell, Gibson, Cruikshank, Coetti, Lord and Creaser. There were 6 tries, beg pardon, 6 goals from Colin Maskill. He didn't get himself on the try sheet. Altogether, a very comprehensive performance by Leeds. The crowd a little over 10,000. The final score, Leeds 44, Sheffield Eagles 2.
David, how are you settling down now at Leeds?
It's taken me a couple of weeks to get fit and settle into my new home, and I'm quite happy at the moment. Things are coming together good.
You seem to be a different style of halfback to your predecessor, Craig Coleman, although you both played for South Sydney.
Well, I played most of my grade football at fullback. Before, as a schoolboy, I played scrum half all the time, so that also has taken me a couple of weeks to get used to. And Craig being more of a ball player, me being more of a runner, we are different, but I think we have our advantages in either way.
Yeah, you played a lot of rugby union when you were at school, did you, David?
Yes, well, I played at school, for my school side, I played rugby league on a Thursday, and then I played with Randwick on a Saturday in rugby union.
Famous club, Randwick, and very dear to the hearts of Leeds fellows, of course, with the Thornets.
Yeah, well, Randwick is a great club with great tradition, and the Thornet brothers played over here, which I only found out when I got here, and they're well respected in Randwick, along with the Elder brothers and all the other famous people from that club.
Just going back to today's game, that's the second week running that you virtually nil the opposition. Was this a plan of David's to score as many points as possible and not concede any?
Well, we went out there with a basic game plan, and if the game plan worked, which it did work, we were going to come up with the points, and we did. But our main priority is look after our defence, and in the last 2 weeks that's been great. So I think David will be quite happy.
I think Mike Coetti got the man of the match award this afternoon. He's another tremendous game.
Well, Mike just keeps going from strength to strength. He's getting used to myself because we need to communicate, and he's getting out wide and running to the holes. And even if there's not one there, I think he just goes over the top of him.
And do you think we can win the league, David?
I definitely think we're going to win the championship. Not can we, when we will win it. I think we come up against Wigan and we put in our determination, enthusiasm, and we can win. We will win.
We stuck to our game plan in certain aspects. Like we had a mad quarter of an hour where we let Sheffield come into the game, but we just plugged away. And like I say, we're just doing basics at the moment and not getting too confident. And we got the points.
On your own, just a word on your own form, you really look to be playing well at the moment.
I got a little knock in just before half-time, kicked through, and their prop forward knocked me on my leg, and just got a little niggly sore knee injury, but that's why I pulled us off. But I think I'll be alright for the next game.
Yes, the competition for places is really hotting up now at Leeds.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, if you want to be a championship side, we've got to have 20 points. 20 points. I mean, 20 players, and or more. And I think it's coming now. And like I say, I think we can challenge Wigan and win the season now.
It's the big match a week next Sunday is here, of course, at Headingley against Wigan. Do you think we can beat Wigan both times if we play them?
I think we can, but like I say, we've got to think of our next game, which is Leigh away, and they're going to be no easy match. We've got to get 2 points there before we have the showdown with Wigan, and like I say, I think we can win them both, yeah.
And we can win the championship?
I don't see why not. We've just got to play consistent and make less mistakes than what other teams do, and I think we'll be there.